the curious you. Here we are, and I cannot believe that I challenged myself to record a podcast in a video format. One of the main reasons that I made myself do this is because I love challenges. I love to grow as a human. And apart from that, I believe that this way of conveying the enormous value that I give through the podcast will be even more powerful because I really think that adding a face to an audio is what matters in today's world where we have a lot of noise, a lot of motivational pictures and stories and videos. And I really feel like getting to know me, myself getting to know me through this format and you getting to know me through this format will be more powerful in everything we're doing. Apart from that, and this is what I want to be talking about with you today, is what it means to really challenge yourself, to really throw yourself into fire. Because I feel like we all think that it takes time to do something, it takes time to learn a skill, it takes time to do something that's out of your comfort zone. But what I found is that the main difference between where you are now and where you will be in the future is a decision. One decision that can change everything. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. All right. So, what does it mean to make a decision? This is something that I've been thinking about in the past year because I heard from a person that is very, very dear to me and whom I've learned a lot from. And she once said that she spent a lot of time, and this is the exact word she used, she spent a lot of time marinating in a decision. And that is so powerful. Like, think about it. A lot of times we spend so many hours and days marinating in a decision, thinking, oh, I want to quit my job. And then we think about it for 1 or 2 years, and time passes by. Everything passes us by while we think about it. And it doesn't have to be something as drastic as, I don't know, quitting one's job. It could be a simple thing like quitting cigarettes or quitting coffee or quitting alcohol or starting sports, running, something that you haven't done before. The biggest example that I have from my personal life is that I would always be looking at these successful women who they're not only successful externally, but they're successful internally. You know, when you meet somebody and you see that person and you look at her and you're like, wow, the energy. That sort of grounded, slow, beautiful energy. And I'm a very energetic and sensitive person, so I feel other people's energies. And whenever I would meet such humans, I'm talking about both men and women, I would be like, wow, this is so refreshing. And I know that a lot of those humans are quite similar in the sense that they're very calm, very grounded. The way they talk, the whole room is silent when they talk because they're conveying value. They're conveying a thing that helps people understand certain things. And apart from that, most of the time, those type of people, they have a good posture, they stand straight, they look good, they're self-confident. And when it comes to women, I was always like, yeah, that's what I want to be. That's how I want to look. But I never really made a decision to look that way. I remember that I would never be consistent in doing sports. Like I would go to the gym, I would be bored after 10 minutes and then I would, scroll on Instagram and then I would be tick the box, I went to the gym, but I really didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym, but I wanted to be that grounded, strong, good looking, with a straight back, good posture woman. So there was a huge gap between what I wanted and what I was doing because I was not making a decision. I was not commanding my body through a decision and being loyal to that decision because I was scared. It takes a lot of time and effort to be that kind of woman. And it wasn't until I heard this acquaintance, I would call her, of mine, whom I learned a lot from, that she used the word marinate in a decision. And I literally saw myself as a chicken marinating in a sauce in the fridge for a couple of days, not being used, not being cooked, not being eaten, not serving any purpose, just being this dead meat marinating in a fridge. That's literally how I saw myself when she said that sentence. And everything opened up for me. Everything opened up for me because I said, I don't want to be that chicken. I want to be this beautiful, smart, funny, successful woman who brings a huge amount of value to this world. But then the second question was, what do I need to become in order to be that woman? What do I need to do? And the answer was right in front of my eyes. It was, you need to start making decisions. Decisions that might not be convenient, decisions that might not be easy to make, decisions that will change a lot of things in my life. But I knew that that was the only way to become that Nina, to become the Nina that I saw in the future. So, what followed next was that I was questioning what kind of Nina did I have to become in order to be that woman. And I realized that I needed to start thinking about my life seriously. I needed to ask myself, okay, in which areas of my life am I not doing my maximum? Where can I improve? And the answer was, to be honest with you, quite clear because I knew that I was not doing sports as much as I wanted to. It was all halfway there, halfway nowhere. I knew that I wasn't stepping out of my comfort zone as much as I wanted to, which means trying out new things. Yes, I was reading a lot of books and listening to podcasts, but I wasn't implementing any of that in my life. My life was just the same. Plus, I had some other or more theoretical knowledge that I thought that was there just to be there, but I wasn't actually using it. I also knew that I wanted to change the way I look. As you may know, I had blonde hair before, and now I have this completely new look. So that was a part of that as well. I knew I wanted to go natural. I knew the way that I wanted to look, the way that I wanted to feel, first of all. I knew that in the morning when I wake up, I wanted to have a purpose in life. And most of all, I knew that the city I'm living in, I didn't want to live in it. And you see, for the past 5 years, I've been living in Vienna, Austria. And it's been a big topic in my household living here and how I feel, how my husband feels, how my kids feel. And to be honest, it's a city in which I never thought I would be living in. Life took me to different places from India, Russia, Belgium, Germany, Hungary, but I never thought it would take me to Austria. And nothing against Austria. It's just that I saw myself and my life in my 30s living somewhere by the beach. I saw myself waking up, stepping out into the garden on the grass, listening to birds chirping, and, my kids taking their bikes to go to school in a small town. The neat beach is nearby, and I would pick them up after school. We would go to the beach, and then we would go to a local farmer's market, get some fresh food. We would cook or make a barbecue at home in our big garden. And I just pictured my life always in that way when I had a family life, when I was in my 30s. And last year was the first time that I ever took that dream seriously because up until that point, of course, I kept talking about that kind of life with my husband and, lobbying for this big dream, big idea. But he wasn't taking it seriously. And he was telling me that I'm used to moving around a lot, and that's the reason why want to move again. But he wasn't taking me seriously. So we kept postponing that. And the main reason, which I understand right now, is because I didn't take myself seriously. So I took this dream only as a dream, not as something that can really happen to me and for my life. And it wasn't until the moment that I took it seriously that we really started having these conversations about moving. This is a topic for some other time, but it's an important one because I took my life into my own hands. I started thinking about what I want to change. I named areas in which I want to improve. I rolled up my sleeves and I started going towards there. I started making an active decision every day when I would wake up to go that way, to go towards the life that I want. And all it took was a decision. All it took was a decision to step out of the known, to change, and not to be that chicken marinating in the fridge. And of course, my first step on that way was to buy a gym subscription. And I remember the day when I went to buy that gym subscription, I was thinking, will I really be able to do this? Because that subscription is not cheap. So it was a big, big dedication and commitment to make because I was thinking to myself, what if I don't make it? What if? And then I said, no, 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 you're going to make it. You're going to make it this time. You're going to go to that gym. And that's what happened. I started going to the gym. I went 2 or 3 times per week. It's been more than a year now that I've been doing sports regularly. It's been more than a year that I feel so good in my body, that I feel strong, that my muscles are there, my posture is there. I don't have a backache when I carry my kids around. I can play with them much more. I'm more energetic. And on top of all of that, I would say that the gym helped me improve my mindset as well because I went above my limits. I went above what I think was normal. I thought I was a person who cannot jog, a person who doesn't like to run. Well, I proved myself wrong. I went to the gym, and every time before I would start doing any type of exercise, I would run because I could. And I trained myself. And it taught me so much about willpower, about pushing your limits, about not telling yourself the same story like, oh, I don't like the gym. The gym is boring. Or I cannot live that life that I want to live on the beach. It's for, unicorn type of people. Because that's the story that I kept telling myself. And all it took was a decision. So after the gym, I turned to dyeing my hair, changing the way I talk. I practiced a lot the way I talk. I would record videos of myself and watch it, and I would feel all the emotions which we feel when we look at ourselves or we hear our voice. I would be like, oh, is that my voice? Is that how I look when I talk? I remember it vividly. One of the first videos that I recorded for the Curious Crew, and the way I was talking, now when I look back, I could really see how nervous I was because I was, using a lot of hand gestures and looking back and forth and not being really like focused on what I was saying. And it makes a difference because I was practicing it for 3 to 4 months. I kept practicing, I kept recording myself, I kept looking at those videos, and I kept improving what I saw I could improve. And of course, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm still nowhere near perfection, as you can see. I'm still working on myself, but I'm out here. I'm exposing myself and I'm throwing myself into the uncomfortable. So, once I went through all the aspects of my life and made a decision to be better, made a decision to be bolder, made a decision to be stronger, made a decision to go for what I want, the next step was to throw myself into fire, literally. And that is the best thing that I've been doing. This is how it looks like. When you feel a moment of inspiration, when you feel good about yourself, when you feel that anything is possible in this world, and you know what kind of days I'm talking about. On those type of days, I used to throw myself into fire. I used to ask myself, what can I do today that will completely push me to the edge? And to be honest, that is how the Curious You podcast started. I remember that day I was feeling so good. I was feeling on top of the world, literally. And I said, what can I do today that would push me to my limits? And the Curious You podcast popped into my head. And I knew that I had to make that decision today, on that day. And that's when I launched the podcast, and there was no going back. And the Nina that was not in that on top of the world energy 10 days later, of course, she was scared. She was asking the Nina from the past, "What did you do? You threw us into fire." But luckily, that Nina threw us into fire because here we are. And this is what I want to leave you with today. If there is something in your life that will make you feel alive, that you could push yourself to the edge, ask yourself on the next day that you have a good top of the world kind of day, ask yourself what that is and then make a decision to go for it. Because I promise you, throwing yourself into fire and not waiting for anyone else to throw you into fire and to show you the way is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself and the people around you. Because all of us can bring something to this world. I'm wishing you a wonderful day ahead and a wonderful week ahead. See you back here next week. Kisses!